Kennedy Papers present a very interesting thought process to me. First of all, if you ask most Americans, what kind of country do we have? What is our government? I think most of them will sit over there and say it's a democracy. I mean, after all, they hear politicians say it all the time. What about our democracy? But America was never a democracy. Never. The United States of America is a constitutional representative form of government. It's constitutional, it's representative. You can call it a democratic representative government. You can call it those things, but never a democracy. A democracy is when the majority rule. So if that was the case, all the folks in California can line up with all the folks in New York and run the country. What we have is a representative government where the government is supposed to represent all the people. That's why each state has 2 senators, and the representatives are based on population for each area. Getting back to the Kennedy Papers, the reason why I said that is I don't even think that we're a democratic republic or a constitutional republic. I think we're masquerading as one, but it's really an oligarchy. I think the country is run by a few people. Now, I didn't always think this way, but several things have led me to thinking this way, and I'm getting to the Kennedy Papers. One of the thoughts came to me back in, I think it was 69, where Edward Kennedy and Mary Jo Kopechne were driving home, and whatever happened, the car ran over this bridge, and the woman drowned, and he went home and didn't come back until the next day. And this guy never spent a day in jail. And he even got to run for president, I think, in 1980. It's like, how did he get away with that? Or we'll look at this situation where Mrs. Clinton had a server in her, they said, was it her basement or bathroom? I don't know what. With 30,000 emails on it, with classified information on it. She never got prosecuted. Nothing happened to her. Or we get into this Jeffrey Epstein thing. Now this fellow had this island where he was having all kinds of young girls brought in, probably young boys too, for all I know, to have sex with these important people. I assume they must be important, because the only people we know ever got prosecuted was Epstein and his girlfriend. Now, they couldn't have been having sex with all those young girls. And Epstein was in prison, in a room that had cameras on it, being watched by 2 guards, and they supposedly fell asleep. And he supposedly hung himself, and the cameras supposedly weren't working. Come on, people. Does that make any sense? Now, we fast forward, or we're going backwards, to President Kennedy, when supposedly Lee Harvey Oswald killed him from the Texas bookstore supposedly, whatever you say. The vehicle was driving past it, and he got off 3 shots with a bolt action rifle. You can see clearly on the Zapruder film that he was shot in the neck, and supposedly that was a magic bullet that went through him and went into Governor Connolly and came out pristine on at the hospital or something. But in that Zapruder film, you can see where his head was half blown off. And there was numerous people that testified that there was a small bullet wound in the front of his head, and the back of his head was missing. But in the official autopsy papers, his head was intact. And they said it didn't happen. They said he was shot from the rear. And then Oswald was the lone assassin. Did I hear the limousine was taken away when supposedly there was a bullet hole in the windshield? His brain is missing Nobody ever performed an autopsy. All the doctors at Parkland Hospital in Texas said that he was shot in the front and the back of his head was blown off. But they took the body to Washington right away. What that tells me is that there was more than one shooter, whether Oswald was involved or not. And recent reports indicate, and even Tucker Carlson has alluded to it, he's talked to people that have saw the files that they will not release. And this is my point, they only released some files, but some 6,000 files. Since 1963, over 60 years, they're still holding it back. That, according to Carlson, the CIA was involved in the assassination, possibly the mob. Now, if these things are true, that means this is not a democratic republic. That means that our form of government is a fraud, that we're really being governed by a select few. And that they're, other than that, they're sitting over here giving us this so-called worldview that we're supposed to be being representative. You can look at the elections we've had since 2000, where Trump got 75 million votes that they agree he received, which is more than any second-term president ever had, or more than any first-term ever had, except for the fact that they say Biden got 81 million votes, and he never campaigned. None of this stuff makes sense, unless, of course, there are other people that are running the show. I mean, Joseph Stalin said that it doesn't matter how many votes are counted. I'm paraphrasing it. What matters is who's counting the votes. So getting back to Kennedy, if in fact they brought out the paperwork and the truth came out to the American people that yes, he was assassinated by a conspiracy, that it was an organized killing and the government was part of it, that means that we're not a representative government. And they don't want us to know that, because if we knew that, they're afraid that we may overthrow this farcical government. That's what I think about the Kennedy papers that were released.